All right, Mary. It's Department of Agencies now in session subcommittee. It's Wednesday, March 8th, in hearing room 2 at 9 a.m. Lisa, please call roll.
Beck. Here. Bricken. Here. Carringer.
Present.
Chisholm. Here. Haston. Holsclaw.
Present.
Kiesling. Littleton. Here. Chairman Holsclaw, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Members, have any personal orders that we'd like to? Representative Bricken, you are recognized.
Just making an announcement. This is a great day because it's Coffee County Day on the Hill. So at lunch, we'll have Prater's Barbecue on the 8th floor. Please join us. And you'll see around 40 great-looking citizens coming up from Coffee County, so make them welcome. So,
Boy, we got a ton of them. Ms. Littleton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a shadow today. She's in the 7th grade. She's a homeschooler from Murfreesboro, Bradley Vaders. Would you please make her welcome? I think it's very important that we bring these young children up here to see how government works. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
She may be sitting in your chair one day.
She's from Murfreesboro. But this chair might be open.
Representative Carringer, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to echo the same words of my great representative sitting here beside me. I have a shadow also sitting out here, and her name is Jenna Triplett, and she's a senior at Berean Christian School in Knoxville. And her father, Steve Triplett, serves on our Knox County School Board, and her mother's with her. And she really could be sitting in this seat one day because she's also a constituent of mine. So I would like for y'all to welcome her.
Are you sure that you might be her shadow?
That is for sure. Today, anything is possible.
Well, let's get this show on the road. And what a wonderful way to start this meeting. We've got Mr. Billboard Rockstar GQ up, number 1. On HB 1362.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was looking around, figuring out who you were talking about. Still, I stay confused, though, so that's okay. And thank you, Mr. Chair, committee. I do have House Bill 1362. It has an amendment, and I'll just start out by saying this. The bill itself is a cleanup bill.
Does the bill make the amendment?
No, the amendment doesn't make the bill. It just adds to it. Okay. Really, the amendment has the meat of what we're going to be talking about today.
You want to go ahead and let's put the amendment on the bill, and then
that'd be great. That'd be coded 4989 amendment 4989.
That is correct. We are voting on amendment 4989. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Now the amendment's on the bill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, committee. Now, what the bill did before what the bill does now. Does three things.
We need a motion and a second on the.
No, we have.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now rock and roll.
Thank you. What the bill does, it clarifies a lot of procedural things, like, for example, changes the name of the Sports Wagering Advisory Council to the Sports Wagering Council. There's a lot of procedural issues. What the amendment did, what we just adopted, is the meat of it. It does two things. It takes away a mandate that our providers pay for official league data. That's a mandate we're going to take away for them. That should be very beneficial for them and the folks that use their services. And it also makes for just a flat 2% handling fee to the state. I think that clarifies things, makes it easier. That way folks knows what they need to do, and just clears it up. So that's what I've got. If you have any additional questions, I have Ms. Thomas can answer those. Just ask for approval.
So this basically streamlines the calculations, makes it simpler.
It does. It does.
Members, any questions for Rockstar? Questions been called. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? You're moving on to full, young man.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee. Appreciate your time.
Which brings us to item number 2. Is HB 931 by McKenzie. We have a motion and second. And you have no amendments, so proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do not appear on any billboards, and I don't profess any rock star status like my predecessor.
If you pass this bill, you might be a rock star.
I may be on a good trajectory there. But it is, I was here last week, and I wish I could have done it right after Representative Bricken, because he really did have foresight back then when they set this up in terms of what this sports wagering process will be. So what this bill does, it looks and says, okay, at this point, the education lottery account, it's, I would say, heavily funded, almost endowed. And so what this bill would do is decrease from 80% to 78% the amount of money that the sports wagering sends over to the lottery account, and take that 2% and put it toward at-risk program for some of our most needy youth in our urban and rural areas. I always say that there's not a lot of difference between our deeply rural kids and our deeply urban kids. So just try to create activities and things for them to do to really better their lives. So that's, in a nutshell, what this bill does.
So Chairman Bricken inspired you? Is that what you're saying?
It was renewed, inspiring when I saw what he had done with the. Seriously, when it was my predecessor that put this bill forward, and I think back then they didn't know how much it was going to generate, what it was going to do, and so for him to think about that back then is something that, to be honest, I wish my predecessor had done at the beginning.
Do we have questions, comments? Well, you brought a whole card of them. Representative Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly want to talk about your bill. Of course, you're correct. We had no idea how much money we would raise in the sports gambling, and there we're pushing somewhere in the $60 to $80 million.
$68 million, I think,
a year. And so we were taking a guess on how to allocate it, certainly. And I knew this when it was passed, and certainly Rick Staples, certainly we all kind of discussed it, that we would need to be tweaking this as time moved forward. It's, and I've got another bill to tweak the 5% for mental health that's going to be, that's already going through committees right now, because some of that funds, my worst fear is money sitting in state bank accounts going unused. Mm-hmm. And we need to put this money to the benefit of Tennesseans. But general questions, if this was approved, what agency would handle it? Can you give me some examples of programs that would be funded with it? And so those two questions.
So, and thank you for that question. I kind of envision, if you heard, I heard the budget hearings from the Sports Wagering Advisory Council, which I know they're trying to change that name now. They're basically getting from their taxes on the 13 outfits that do sports wagering. They get $9 million. Their budget's $6 million. They're only spending $4 million. So I do think they could have a part-time position. I'm looking at this to be maybe 20 to 30 entities from both our rural and urban areas that's going to take time to apply, and they would just vet those applications and give out small amounts. So some of the type programs that I can see them investing in, maybe having a STEM program in a after-school drone program. You can have a build a drone program. You can have robotics. It may go to some kind of unique sporting kind of field hockey or something to allow our kids to enrich their lives. Be it physically or some other mental challenge type activities for our kids. They just don't get the opportunities. If you look in our suburban and some of our more middle class and affluent areas, there's just a lot for them to do. So this would just be another small a way to reach out and touch those kids. So hopefully I answer your question.
kind of follow up. Just want to be clear.
Representative Brickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Sports Council staff would administrate any applications for funding? So it's not going to go to any other departments or agencies of the state?
Representative McKenzie.
So yeah, that we actually thought about it and considered it. You got Child and Family that they'd probably do it on a more active basis, but they got their own issues. I don't see this being a major tax or major burden on a person. I would say a person, and as the council is staffing up, I could see this being an administrative type activity. If there's a matrix that you send these grant applications through, if they come out on the other end and you have X number of dollars to dole out, you just divide X by the number of people and you send it out. So I really would like to keep it within one department. I think when things start crossing departments, there's fees and there's handling and it gets a little complicated. So that would be my vision, to keep it within that department.
Representative Brickey.
Well, I'm fine. I guess I'm okay with that. But it sounds like we're going to have, I'm going to call it one possible designated person vetting applications and all. And I'm not sure if that makes me feel good or bad versus a broader perspective of approving the utilization for it. So, if this goes forward, maybe you and I can talk and we can figure out some better way to be sure it's properly managed going forward. So I'm leaving myself with some concern there.
Chairman Keesling. Other questions, comments? Seeing none, we're voting on HB 931. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. You're moving on to full.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
Okay, we've got item number 3, 1453 is rolled to the hill. Then we got item number 4, which is off notice, HB 1201. HB 1247 is rolled 1 week. And it brings us to item number 6, HB 407. By Representative Reedy, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee, and I will read for clarity. Beginning January on House Bill 407, beginning January 15th, 2024, reduces from 3 to 1 the number of reports that must annually be provided to the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency from commercial outfitters regarding non-motorized vessels activities taking place on Tennessee waters. This also authorizes the Fish and Wildlife Commission to establish rules, regulations, and procedures regarding the use of vessels, launch or ramps, or other property owned or managed by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency by commercial operations that lease or rent non-motorized vessels for non-commercial use by the public on the waters of Tennessee. It clarifies that the Commission's authority immediately referenced above does not apply to commercial operations permitted by the Department of Environment and Conservation pursuant to commercial use authorization in state parks or state natural areas, Mr. Chairman.
And it looks like you do have an amendment.
And yes, sir. That amendment number is 4341 that makes the bill.
Is that? Okay, that is correct. I have a motion and seconds that this amendment make up the bill.
I stand corrected. It does not. It just takes care of a portion of the bill.
Okay. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this amendment on the bill, and then we'll discuss the bill. Those in favor of 4341 going on the bill, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Amendments on the bill. Continue on, Mr. Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committees. That pretty much makes the bill and what the process has been. Of course, it was 2018 when I chaired the Agriculture Subcommittee we had to reopen the committee for the discussion on this to get the reporting from TWRA in 2018. And now we're back talking about how it should be, that information that was finally given to TWRA, how we're going to handle that.
Do we have questions for Mr. Reedy? Seeing none? Oh, Chairman Keesling.
Thank you, Chairman. Do we have testimony lined up on this one, Chair?
Yes, we do.
We do. If so, I'd like to request
We
those
go out-
that you
we go
have.
out of
Yeah,
session?
if you would, please.
All right, we're going to go out of session. I see a young man with an orange tie, orange and blue tie can come up and maybe testify a little bit for us. If you would, state your name, and I think you know where the button is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mike Bell, Legislative Director for the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency. And, Mr. Chairman, we appreciate the sponsor and the Paddlecraft Group working with us on this amendment, and we are good with the amendment as it is before you today. Or the amended bill. I'm sorry, the amended bill as it's before you today.
Chairman Keesling.
Thank you, Chairman. Mike, what's been the issues in the past? What were you all objecting to their efforts there, if you don't mind, please?
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Keesling. And I'm looking around at the committee members here, and I don't think any of you were on government operations back in 2018. Representative Reedy was on government operations in 2018, and I was as well. We had a ongoing discussion that this bill was, which is now, I'm sorry, bill, the law, which is the current law, was a culmination of that discussion. And that was conflict between user groups on our rivers around the state. Those user groups were the paddlecraft people and the fishermen mainly. And this bill, the law that was passed in 2018 was passed in order for the agency to gather data to help us determine where those conflicts were happening and then what we might do going forward to solve those conflicts. With the amended bill that you have before you today, it's basically just tweaking what we did in 2018, making it a little bit less onerous on the paddlecraft operators to comply with the reporting requirements. But it still gives us the data that we're going to need. And at some point, we'll probably come back to the legislature through the UAPA process, through the Government Operations Committee, and offer some solution to these conflicts that are still happening on many of our rivers in the state between different user groups.
That's all I have. Thank you very much for that. And Chairman, thank you.
So all parties involved are happy with this bill right now?
Yes, I believe, and I think I would let Representative Reedy speak for them, but I believe that the paddlecraft people are satisfied with the amended bill that you have before us, and we are as well.
Okay. Chairlady, Chairwoman Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've worked on this bill since I've been up here, or this type thing, because when I first came in, there was so much confusion in Cheatham County there at the river. They were actually arresting people for parking on the bridges, in the right-of-way on the bridges, because there was no parking. But they have worked with us, and they were all in my office. I think you were there, and you were in my office, and everybody's in agreement right now with this bill. That's the way I understood it.
Yep.
They were there in my office for support, so I support the bill.
And that is awesome. Working together and make everybody happy. Any other questions for Mr. Bell? All right, we'll go back in session. Thank you.
Question on the bill?
Question's been called on the bill, so you don't have to read no more, Mr. Reedy. We're voting on HB 407. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? You're moving on to full, young man. Which brings us to item number 7, 594 by Mr. Chairman Leader Garrett. We got a motion and a second? Does the amendment make the bill?
The amendment does make the bill. And I
What
see
number you got?
It is 5088.
So let's go ahead and get the amendment on the bill. We've got a motion. Second. So we're voting on amendment 5088. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Amendment's on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this House Bill 594 seeks to move some Nashville restaurants in the entertainment district from under the Beer Board for enforcement purposes to the ABC, to the Alcohol Beverage Commission, for purposes of a more rigorous oversight for this particular area in Davidson County. The reason for this, the statistics are profound of the liquor by the drink consumption in that particular area of Davidson County. And I was kind of surprised about this, and what got me interested in this particular legislation was the fact that the Metro Council appointed, I don't know the exact name of the particular position, but it was like a night person to oversee kind of the nightlife in this entertainment district. And the consumption rivals cities like New Orleans and Las Vegas, et cetera, in the Nashville area. And so the business community wants and encourages for more oversight on issues regarding some fines for underage consumption, et cetera. So, Mr. Chairman, that's what this particular legislation does, and I stand ready for any questions that the committee may have.
The first question I have, just for the knowledge, I'm sure you're probably stayed up on it and aware. For the audience, how much alcohol is consumed in the Nashville area versus the rest of the state?
That's a very good question. This is something I didn't know. Usually it tracks, now this is just liquor by the drink, so I don't have the beer numbers, but usually it tracks the population center. So in Nashville, I'm not sure of the exact population, but it's 600,000 or 700,000. That's about 10% of the population of the state of Tennessee. So most other places track within that same percentage. In this particular area, though, it's nearly 50% of the alcohol that's consumed on premises in the metro Nashville area. So it's way above the norm throughout the entire state. So that's why there's a lot of, I don't want to say issues, but if there are issues, we need a rigorous way to ensure public safety. And through the ABC, their commissioned officers are actually officers, where the beer board are just, they're officers, but they only have civil ability to issue fines. The actual commissioned officers under the ABC have a criminal component as well. They can actually arrest, confiscate, and charge right there at the scene, rather than the beer board has to call the police, which that can create some issues if there's a crowd, et cetera, there. So we're trying to tone down those issues as well with having just this zone in the metro area. It's not the entire Davidson County area. It's just that zone in the entertainment zone that this would apply to.
But your knowledge, the ABC is going to actually hire some additional officers, is that correct?
Very good question. Actually, they have the capacity to handle this now. They don't have, that's why under the fiscal note, there's not an impact for money to hire new additional officers. They actually have those officers now, because during the COVID area, they had some additional officers when the to-go liquor by the drink took place, to make sure that process was done appropriately by our restaurants and businesses. So when that ends, when this particular law would go into effect, those officers are already in place that can take over this additional work that the ABC will be able to monitor. Mr. Chairman.
Members? Representative Beck, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The sponsor has not reached out to me. I did, late yesterday, talk to the lobbyist representing the bar owner that's brought this bill. And I didn't hear the sponsor talk about an amendment. There's supposed to be an amendment coming, and I have to warn my colleagues up here that this bill, as it's written today, will allow right now there's a 1,000-foot buffer for the beer board in Davidson County, where you can't put a honky-tonk right next to a church, daycare, or school. This would preempt that, because it's giving that anybody gets a beer license if they get a liquor license. Now, there's supposed to be an amendment coming that changes that, but ladies and gentlemen, if you vote for this, you've got a negative mailer coming that says Representative Beck voted, and there'll be a big picture of a pristine church and then a picture of a Hooters right next to it. Representative Beck voted to allow a honky-tonk next to a church or a daycare or a school. And that's what without this being amended, that's what you're voting on today. So I think that we should wait till we get the amendment. It's not ready. It's supposed to be ready next week. And to be able to vote on this without having repercussions.
We're not going to make you vote yes on this, Representative Beck.
Well, I'm not. I can see my negative mailer coming right then.
Representative Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. And if if Representative Beck would have reached out to me, I would have been glad to tell him as well that there are, the language that was provided is too broad. We didn't catch that. When I reviewed it, I caught it. It was actually too late in order to have the amendment here, but it is the way it's interpreted now too broad, and I will stand here on my honor and say that we are going to fix that amendment to make it where it applies just to this zone, and it will not interfere whatsoever with the buffer zone as Representative Beck described in any particular mailer that we want an establishment like that next to a school or a church. So on my honor as a representative here, I would say that we do plan to fix that the language was just too broad. So that's going to be in the works to be fixed. And so I do believe the bill can, if the committee is willing to go ahead and move that, and knowing that I plan 100% to fix that particular issue that was brought up by Representative Beck, Mr. Chairman.
Other? Chairman Keesley.
Chairman, thank you very much. Okay, and I really appreciate Representative Beck bringing this up, Representative Garrett. So we have your word that if it moves out today, that next week we'll have that amendment. You'll have that amendment in place then, is that correct?
Or I'll personally find his picture on the front page with Hooters and church. And
You unconditionally, without exception, have my word.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Other questions, comments? See none? Oh,
Well, if we're going to go forward, because I do have some other questions. Yeah, I do have some other questions, but I would think that something this substantive, we really need to get in the right posture before. I don't blame the sponsor. He doesn't live in Davidson County and may not be that familiar with my district where this is taking place. So I'd make the motion that we roll this for a week, get it in the proper form, and before it goes on to full committee.
we have a second? Got a second? No, any objection? If no objection, we're going to roll this 1 week, and your honor's still going to be good.
That'd be just fine. I appreciate it, committee. Thank you very much.
HB 594 is rolled 1 week. Chair Lady Littleton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I'm out of order, but we have some awesome firefighters that have come in from Dixon and Cheatham County, and I think we should thank them for the wonderful job that they do. Yay. Thank y'all.
Out of order. We're on item number 8, HB 1421. It's off notice, which brings us to number 9, HB 297 by Chairman Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And you have no amendment. We've got a motion and a second. You guys are sleeping on me again. All right, you're ready to go. You're just getting scared there. Your hair almost turned white.
It was turning white. I'll tell you, it was really getting white. I don't want to get a motion in a second. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is just a really bill to help our county court clerks. As of right now, when we have any kind of wildlife proclamations, they must take a physical copy and hang them in their office and post them in their office. This bill would remove that requirement.
to have a county clerk post a tangible hard copy of the wildlife proclamation into their office and just allow the digital copy. It would be available on the TWRA's website and to be the sole public posting. This would save taxpayers, dollars by eliminating the need to print that and put it on in the offices. And of course, TWRA is supportive of this. And this bill was brought to me by the County Clerks Association, the Tennessee County Officials Associations. And with that, I stand ready for any questions.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, we're voting on HB 297. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, and you're moving on to full.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
HB 537's rolled to the hill. Well, we done rolled the other one, didn't we? So. Which brings us to number 11, HB 451 by Representative Russell, and I do see him in the back. Second. Got a motion and a second. So you're ready to roll as soon as you find your paperwork.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 451 is known as the Tennessee Immigration Transparency Act that requires the Department of Safety to create and maintain a centralized record system of reports, investigations, and public information regarding unauthorized immigrants housed and traveling within the state of Tennessee. This legislation came about from concerns from constituents regarding the federal government bringing unauthorized immigrants into Tennessee and the federal government not providing any information on how they arrive here, where they're staying, or how they leave. This bill will bring transparency by simply requiring safety to maintain an online data entry form for people to report unauthorized immigrants housed or traveling within the state. If the department considers the report to be from a credible source, safety shall forward the allegation to local law enforcement to investigate. If local law enforcement does not investigate, safety shall investigate. Once the investigation is completed, the Department of Safety shall place the information online for the public to be able to review the allegations and the findings of the investigation. This transparency bill will bring transparency to the concerns that Tennesseans have about unauthorized immigrants housed and traveling within the state of Tennessee. The federal government shipping unauthorized immigrants into Tennessee and not providing any information is unacceptable. Simply put, we do not know anything about these immigrants. We don't even know if they're being safely transported or housed in an appropriate manner. This bill would take care of all those issues and put it online for everybody to see. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What kind of resources would this take?
I'm sorry.
What kind of resources would this take to do this tracking?
So the Department of Safety would create a place on their website so somebody can go in and enter the allegation that somebody's transporting or housing these immigrants, and then once they receive it, the department would send it out to a local law enforcement agency, and those local law enforcement agencies would actually investigate the complaints, and if they don't, the Department of Safety would do it. And I would presume it would be through the Homeland Security, and I think we're fixing to fund one Homeland Security officer per each county.
Chairman Keesley.
Thank you, Chair. I noticed, members, that this has been flagged by the administration. Have they requested testimony, Chair?
Yes, they have.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Chairman.
I figured I'd let them ask questions, and then we'll go to session and hear from them. Representative Beck.
Thank you. Sponsor, didn't we already pass something like this?
You're recognized.
Not that I know of.
Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no questions right now, we'll go to session, and I think we have Elizabeth Stroker here to testify. If you would just sit down and make sure your mic's on and state your name and who you're with.
Elizabeth Stroker, Legislative Director and Assistant General Counsel for the Department of Safety, and we've talked with Chairman Russell on this bill and had some good communications with him. We understand his intent in wanting transparency throughout the state and people coming in and out of the state. However, the department is not able to actually get or provide this information. If this bill were to pass, there is no legal way for us to figure out if someone is coming into the state or being housed in the state. We don't have access to even checking someone's immigration status. It is completely federally regulated. So there would be no way that we could comply with this outside of taking someone's rumor that they believe someone is housing or here illegally. And if we posted that online, it would open the department up to massive legal liability for just speculating when we have no actual proof that someone is doing this or is in the state unlawfully. So with that, we'd ask that this either be looked at a little bit more or figure out a different way that it can be done, just because the department has no way of actually complying with it.
Do we have questions? Representative Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for information, are the transportation of unauthorized immigrants done by federal agencies or nonprofit organizations, as far as you know?
Ms. Stroger.
I have no idea. We do not have any involvement with immigration issues at all.
Well, I think we need to, I mean, if they're nonprofits that are doing it, and the federal government, if this bill should pass, it seems like we could notify the federal agencies, we could notify all the known nonprofits that are in this immigration business and put them on notice that we have this statute. And if they don't report their transportation, housing of immigrants in Tennessee, then they're in violation. So there should be some means to make this work and allow y'all to properly do your business. So thank you.
Do you have any? Representative Chisholm, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Are you all understaffed for your current workload?
You're recognized, Mr. Stroger.
As far as law enforcement, are you specifically asking just law enforcement in general?
Law enforcement in general.
Yeah, THP and the Homeland Security agents, they serve the entire state, and we do have a budget request to increase aspects in both of those. So we are understaffed currently.
So if this bill were to pass, how much of an extra burden would this be on you all's department?
Stroger.
It would be a massive burden, mainly because there's no way for us to actually get or verify the information. So it's a weird situation where we would have to dedicate people to do it that already have other jobs, but also there's no way for them to actually do it. So it's a weird situation to be in, yes.
Thank you.
Chairman Keesling, you are recognized.
Thank you again, Chairman. Elizabeth, as you stated, there's no way. Is it because the feds aren't cooperating or providing you with the information?
Mr. Stroger.
So in order to be able to enforce immigration laws, you have to have a MOU with the federal government. We do not have one, and since we do not have one, we do not have access to and cannot enforce or prosecute anything relative to immigration.
So it all begins with an MOU, right?
Right. It's all federally regulated, yes, sir.
Wow. Oh, boy. Okay, well, that's all I have. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Chair.
Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And why do you not have an MOU, and what would it take to get an MOU?
Ms. Stroger.
I don't have the answer to that. We haven't had one in a long time, but it would require the federal government allowing us to be able to do that. So it would have to be mutually agreed upon.
So do you apply for that, or do that?
I don't know the answer to that or the specifics of it. I'd have to do more digging into it, but I just don't know how that's done, as we don't have one currently.
Chair Lady Littleton.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What happened to the one that you had? Did you give it up? The federal government take it, or what happened to it?
Ms. Stroger.
I don't know. That was well before my time. It's been it's been a minute since that's been in place. I'd have to look into that.
Chair Lady?
Can you do that and let us know?
Yes, ma'am,
Thank you.
of course. I'll send it to the chair and it can be shared with the whole committee.
Other questions, comments? Seeing none. We got to go back in session. Thank you, Ms. Stroker, for your testimony. Do we have anybody else who wants to testify? Okay. All right, Mr. Russell, we're back on 451. We have questions for Mr. Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could just address the committee, I appreciate safety working with me on this, and I necessarily don't want them to enforce immigration laws. I just want to go out and investigate where these places are or allegations about companies transporting these immigrants through here, just to basically make sure that they're doing it legally and safely. And they come back with either 3 options so people in Tennessee can see if it's confirmed, not supported by evidence, or it's inconclusive on their investigation. And there's no enforcement whatsoever. And I believe the program was the 287G, and that was stopped by, I think, the Obama administration, if I'm not mistaken, as far as the immigration memorandum of understanding. At the end of the day, I believe that in Tennessee, we welcome legal immigrants, and we want them to come here legally, but Tennesseans want transparency. I would like to work with this on safety. Maybe we can come up with a solution to where this bill would work. So if it's all right with the committee, if I could maybe recommend that we roll this until the first calendar 2024, maybe we can come up with something that works for everybody.
Okay. Yeah, maybe the right thing to do is just take it off notice, and then you can put it back on notice when you want to run it. But before we do that, I've got just 1 or 2 more questions. If we voted this through, would we be subject to lose a bunch of federal money?
That I'm not sure. I guess that would be up to physical review or legal to clarify that. But this is not anything targeting immigrants other than for it to be transparent on a website so people can go in there and view what's going on with this inside the state of Tennessee. So, and this does not even prohibit, this bill does not even prohibit them even coming here and being housed here. It just says that we should know how they're getting here and where they're housed.
Chairman Keesling, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and I promise this to be the last. I just want to commend you for suggesting this, Chairman Russell. I appreciate that, and that would give you as well as the department more time to hopefully promulgate or come together and try to resolve something. But thank you very much for understanding, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
So without objection, I think we're going to take this off notice. Is that correct?
That would be fine.
HB 451 is going to be off notice. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Dixon County Day, I think, of department and agencies. We have the youth leadership here with us from Dixon County, and they're going to present a bill in the Senate at about 3:30 this afternoon. Every year, the Dixon County leadership brings bills for us to look at and to consider, and they're going to be presented in the Senate this afternoon, but they're here with us right now.
Why didn't
So
they
could we welcome them? They're going to present in education later in the House. Thank y'all for being here.
Representative Carringer, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know why you're getting so frustrated with us 2 women up here. You have 5 daughters, a wife, and a female dog, so you ought to be used to this. Anyway, I got to sort of keep up with my great friend here, representative. She's getting all this in her county. I'm very honored to have Rural Metro with me out of Knoxville, Tennessee, Jeff Bagwell back here, and also a constituent of mine. So I'm very thankful to have you all and to see you all in your nice uniforms. So thank you for seeing us, and I would like for y'all to give them a good, warm welcome.
On item 12, right? Which brings us back to the calendar on item number 12, HB 1026 by Butler. He's wearing his orange on again. He likes that orange. Got a motion and a second? Get them women to be quiet over there. You are recognized.
Thank
Looks
you,
like
Chairman
have-
and committee. If I may, a little bit out of order, we have lots of youth groups here today. I've been over at the Capitol with several of the other ones and met some of the folks here in the elevator coming down. So
Yes,
I hope we all make them welcome today.
We do, and continue to be interested in your government. Like I said, one of y'all will be up here one day. You won't believe it. I never thought I would be here, so
I didn't either.
we applaud you. Everybody give them a round. Committees can be kind of stuffy sometimes, so we try to have fun, but we're all business when it comes down to it. So trying to make Tennessee a better and greater state. And whether you all realize it now or not, that's the reason I do it, is for you. What happens to us is done. We want you to enjoy the same things that we enjoy. And you're fortunate enough to live in the #1 state in the nation right now. So. Without that, look, we do have a motion and a second. You're ready to roll on 1026.
Thank you. This bill presents the opportunity for TWRA to acquire some more property that's actually adjacent to Catoosa, which is actually in one of my counties. And so many of the folks in these rural districts enjoy these TWRA properties. And so this legislation is to use the Wetland Acquisition Fund to purchase this 1,741 acres. And I do want to point out that there's 5 previous times that this has been done to purchase tracts of land for TWRA: 1997, 1998, 2002, 2014, and more recently in 2016, this has been done. So with that, I would renew my motion and answer any questions.
Committee? Question's been called on the bill. You must be a popular guy.
It's the orange.
So we are voting on 1026. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? You're moving on to full, young man.
Thank you, committee.
Item number 13 has been taken off notice. House Bill 631, and it brings us to number 14, HJR number 27. You are recognized, young man.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion, a second. I see no amendments, so continue on.
Thank you. Illegal immigration is out of control. Our country's southern border is not secure. Hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants cross the border each year. In fact, the Border Patrol documented well over 2 million illegal border crossings in 2022. All states and communities are affected by illegal immigration. Everyone knows this is an issue. Fentanyl is coming across the border and wreaking havoc in our community. Human trafficking is destroying families. Gangs are operating with nefarious motives and also causing harm to our communities. The federal government must do its job and address this crisis, and that's exactly what we're asking them to do with this resolution if we advance it. We need to take action and ask our federal government to do its job and to enforce the southern border to protect our nation and in turn to protect Tennessee. HJR 27 strongly urges Congress and the President to finish construction of the southern border wall and to secure the border in general. So I would ask you to support this resolution, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
We have questions or comments? Call for question. Without objection, we're voting on HJR 27. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Let's do a roll call.
Beck. No. Bricken. Aye. Carringer. Chisholm. Haston. Holsclaw.
Aye.
Kiesling. Littleton. Representative Holsclaw, you have 5 yeses and 2 nos.
So, resolution passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on to full. Which brings us back to item number 3 by the one and only.
They're all leaving.
Yeah, you running a crowd out.
What in the world? TTFN.
Yes, we are now looking at a House Bill 1453 by Faison. We have a motion and second.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee. This bill does have an amendment that writes the bill.
Okay, so we got a motion and second, so let's get that on the bill. We're voting on 4724. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Amendments properly on the bill. Go, proceed on.
Thank you. Members, a lot of talk about ladies, and Chairman Holsclaw's been griping at these ladies, but today is International Women's Day.
Yes, it is.
Speaking of that, my 2 ladies in my life that live at my house, we have a house that borders the national park. Because of some things with the TWRA, just some things nationally, bear hunting has somewhat declined in East Tennessee where I live, and the bear population has grown exponentially. Bear often visit my house in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the day. If somebody would like to see pictures, I'll show you. They've killed our animals, they've destroyed property, and a lot of my neighbors are frustrated. The law in Tennessee would not allow me to stop an animal such as a bear that's coming in the middle of the summer, unless they're in season. We've contacted TWR agents. You can shoot them in the hiney with a shotgun, but that's about it. So I brought this bill, worked with TWRA, worked with the former Senator Mike Bell on this.
You've done
Some of us
you
wish
gonna
he was
shoot
late.
him?
We are not passing a law to use anything against Mike Bell, former Senator Mike Bell. But this is just going to allow those of us that border the national park, typically where a bear habitat is if they're doing something to your property, to be able to stop the bear without a permit.
Okay. I applaud you for this effort. My question is I live quite a bit farther east than you do. Why would we limit this to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park?
Because that's where our problem is, and the TWRA didn't want to go further than that. But I'm served at the will of the committee.
And I reckon working with that, the other question I would have, there's also a mechanism where you can apply for a depredation tag. Is that correct?
From my understanding, working with them, it doesn't really apply. The law is not real clear on what you can do with a bear. That typically takes place in West Tennessee when deer are doing stuff, or wild hogs are doing stuff. West Tennessee, it's an unclear issue. No offense to TWRA, they have never, since I've been here, liked us to set policy. They want to do everything by rule. With this, I'm not all right with them doing this by rule, because the next person who's in charge of TWRA can just change that. I want to put this in law.
And go. So is that the difference between a depredation tag and what you're trying to do here?
Yes, there is.
Because, like I said, I have the issue too. So, I mean, it's, I look outside and, I've got a bear running a dog around the yard, or it happens. Mm-hmm. And then, we can't put on any trash because the bear's going to be on your back porch. And,
correct.
My little girls are 80 pounds. And
the ladies in your house are bothered by it too.
Yeah.
Committee, this bear came and stood at the back door. My wife was sleeping in our Tennessee room and started to come through the door where my wife was sleeping. That's when she's like, you have to do something. So, yeah.
Question's been called on the bill. You're getting impatient on me, Chairman Keesley. Question has been called. Do we have objection? Seeing none, we are voting on HB 1453 by Faison. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Bill's moving on to full. That was easy enough, wasn't it?
Thank you. Thank you, committee.
Which brings us to
Can I
item
have a
number,
twofer?
number 10. House Bill 537 by Faison. Once again, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Committee,
Have a
Mr.
motion
Chairman,
and
committee. As members know, the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency sells lifetime sportsman license. I'm sure several of you have purchased them for your children and grandchildren. Last session, we passed legislation allowing the principal of those license purchases to be held in an endowment trust that would be overseen by the state treasurer, commissioner of F&A, and the TWRA director. We did this to provide greater returns on the principal trust. This bill makes one change to that legislation from last year in that it allows the agency's flexibility to use funds from new purchases of lifetime license for current operating expenses while still providing the flexibility to maintain investments for future services of lifetime license holders.
Do we have questions? Seeing none, we're voting on HB 537. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Bill's moving on to
Thank
full.
you.
And that completes our calendar. So without objection, Mr. Kiesling, we are adjourned.